The crowd's excited. We're excited. We're all excited to be here with you today. Welcome into another week of the Young Dad Podcast. I'm your host, Jay, and with me today is my co-host, Ron. And joining us today, as you heard in the intro, is our six-figure dad friend, Brad. How the heck are you guys doing today?
I'm doing excellent.
Another day above ground. It's always a good day.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Well, Brad, thanks so much for joining us. We're just as equally excited to have you on and to talk a little bit about you, about your brand, and more about what you do every day. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you're from California. You currently reside in the great state of Texas, and you're a business owner, and you have a lot of animals. I know that from looking at your social media, and you have the chunkiest baby I've ever seen in my entire life. So tell us about you. Tell us about your platform and what you do.
Yeah, so on social media, I go by the six-figure stay-at-home dad. I don't know, kind of just threw that name out there at one point and stuff, and so I'm kind of going to just stick with it. I don't know. But I just exited the military after years. I was a Special Forces medical sergeant from 2011 until 2022. I was no longer satisfied, kind of. I guess you could say that's a really short way to put it, with my time in the military. And so rather than kind of just stick it out another 9 years for the 20-year retirement that so many people enjoy from serving in the military, I said, you know what, another 9 years, that's not worth what they're offering me. I don't want to be unhappy for 9 years. And so luckily, a few years before I decided to get out, I kind of had made that decision. And so I decided to start a small business, and I just started it out of the extra bedroom in my house, and then kind of kept moving it around with me as I moved from Colorado to Hawaii. And the business just kept growing, luckily. And then really it made my transition out of the military to a self-employed business owner very easy. It was already paying me more than the military was paying me. It was, doing my own retirement contributions and all of that stuff. So that's kind of where I'm at now. And so really I just work from home. I have some employees that come to my house. We, work out of an extra building on my property. And you're right, I'm a big animal lover. My kids are animal lovers. So we have 3 cows. They're dairy cows, so they're pretty much family pets, and we're not gonna pick them up for beef or anything like that. So we get to kind of keep them long term and enjoy them. They're the best. They're really well trained and very friendly cows. Are good with our kids. And then we've got about anywhere from 12 to 18 chickens at any time, just kind of making some eggs and whatnot for us. But yeah. So I've got 3 kids. One will be 4 at the end of this month. One will be 2 at the end of this week. And the other one, the super chunky one, is 3 months old. So I'm really blessed in that regard.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. So, well, first off, thank you for your service. We couldn't do, anyone that has a podcast, we all can acknowledge that we couldn't do what we do without, the servicemen and women in our country. We have our grandfathers were in the service. Neither of us were. Mine was for medical reasons, but it's always appreciated. It goes a long way. We appreciate you guys. I feel like the servicemen and women don't get enough credit for what they do and how brave they are for all that they do for our country. So
I agree. Thank you. It was truly my pleasure. I really had a great time and nothing but great experiences.
Well, tell us a little bit about your business. You started your business. You said it started small, extra bedroom in your home, and now it's grown to the point where it's self-sustainable. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I started a high-performance fuel injection components business. I'm a car guy. My dad was a car guy. His dad was a car guy. My uncles are car guys. So I grew up working on cars, and it kind of made sense to start a business out of something that I was already doing for fun, or at least in line with it, right? I didn't want to, whenever you start a business, I always tell people who are looking to start their own businesses, you're going to have to learn. You're going to have to learn a lot. But why not learn something that you enjoy? And so that's kind of what I at least the way I thought of it. A lot of people warned me. They said, if you start a business with your hobbies, you're not going to enjoy your hobbies anymore. That was totally wrong. If anything, I'm more engulfed by my hobbies than ever before, and I get to spend more time doing it. I get to talk to more people that have common interests doing it. So yeah, I mean, it's been a great experience going from just an extra bedroom in a house to renting a small, what was essentially like a storage closet from my wife. It was really only about 16 feet long by about 8 feet wide. I had my first, $300,000 annual revenue year out of a storage closet.
Dang.
And then the next year, I did just short of $1 million, and I was able to move to a 2,300 square foot warehouse. And then 2-3 years later, we're moving into a 6,000 square foot warehouse. So
that's awesome.
Just by keeping at it every day and kind of just, I guess, enjoying my hobbies, really, I've been incredibly blessed to be able to, continually grow this business. And throughout that, it's also taught me how to start other small businesses and things like that, and what can be outsourced and what can't be. So started a few other small businesses as well. Some of them are less involved than others, but kind of just generally are e-commerce businesses because I can operate them from home, and that's kind of where I'm at in my life right now, is spending as much time with my children as I can. And even though I have to work, throughout the day, it's really nice to work, sometimes with my kids on my lap or, just one room over. It's really nice to never be too far away from them.
Definitely. So now your business is on your property in Texas.
It is for now. And then we are getting a much larger warehouse just down the street, less than 2 miles away. So I don't know if I'll technically be the stay-at-home dad anymore. I'll still work a lot from home, but
might have to rebrand a little bit.
Yeah, we just don't have the space to accommodate the actual storage space that we need for the business. And also, it kind of limits you on in-person business. You don't want a bunch of strangers coming to your house and stuff like that. And so,
fair.
Having a PO box only goes so far. Eventually, people that want to be your customers and they're only 30 minutes away, they're like, hey, can I just come and pick this product up? And you have to say sure,
yeah.
What do I do? I don't know. Meet them down the street,
at the end of the dirt road.
Yeah, exactly. So, we'll be moving here in the next, hopefully in about a month or so. But that gives us a lot more room to grow, and it kind of frees up some more space so that we can expand the business even further.
That's awesome.
Hey, Brad. So I have a question. What's behind the whole snake eater aspect of your brand?
Yeah, so snake eater is the kind of nickname that was given to Green Berets, which were the U.S. Army Special Forces. And the reason was, in our survival training, one aspect that's unique to Green Berets is the amount of survival training that we undergo, and that's being able to live off of the land, make shelter, hunt food, trap food, and all that stuff. Well, it was very common, I think, from the 60s all the way up till probably the 90s, that you would have to catch and eat snakes during your survival training. And then so one time when a bunch of politicians came, they served snake as the lunch of the day, I guess, to the politicians, and that somebody came up with the term for the Green Berets. And they started calling them snake eaters. So it's an unofficial nickname, and I just thought it was really cool. Being that I'm a little bit of a Chevy guy, I like GM vehicles. I like all of them, to be honest with you, but I tend towards Chevy. The Ford, has the Cobra and stuff like that. So a lot of people with, well-built Chevys and stuff will call them snake eaters also. So it kind of just fit, and, it's just like the six-figure stay-at-home. I kind of just threw a name out there, and then it ended up growing, and I kind of felt stuck with it. And so I like it, and it's kind of here to stay now, I guess.
Yeah, that's right, brother. That's what I figured. Bow tie till you die.
I like that. I hadn't heard that one before.
Yay, cars. I'm not a car guy, so I'm just definitely they go vroom. But Um, I sports balls and stuff, but for you, Brad, along the way, I'm sure there's been some obstacles along like your startup journey to get to this point. What were some of those biggest obstacles that you've had to overcome to this point?
Well, I mean, I would say the biggest thing was how to manage my time, really, because when you're working your regular 9 to 5 job and then you have a side hustle that is like kind of continually demanding more and more of your time, it becomes increasingly more difficult to not kind of spin your wheels and just do a bunch of work but not really make any progress because there's so much coming at you. There's so many emails that need responding, there's bills that need to be paid. And so I had to essentially become a very disciplined and organized person in order to alleviate stress. You know what I mean? Like I found that if I just woke up at the same time every day, did a certain amount of work before I went to work, that alone, just having a good morning routine that was productive, really alleviated a lot of my anxiety. So really, I'm a very undisciplined person naturally. I'm a messy person. I kind of don't clean up after myself as much as I should. But really, breaking that habit, that was probably the biggest obstacle, but it was probably also the biggest net benefit. Because once I realized that I could do the majority of my work with a few concentrated hours of effort in the morning before my kids would wake up, that really freed me up and actually, I think, grew my business even more. So though it was really difficult, and, I do like a little bit of coaching with some people and stuff, that are just starting their businesses or their brand. That's always the biggest obstacle is like, look, it's, you're going to have to go to what some people refer to as the deliberate extreme. It's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of effort, but it won't always be that way. And so once you can overcome that initial resistance to be that super disciplined individual, it eventually becomes second nature and you don't want to be undisciplined anymore. So for me, I would say that was probably my biggest obstacle. And then also my biggest net benefit was that realization. And it's something that if I ever sleep in now and the sun's already up when I wake up, I feel like I'm behind the 8 ball. I don't want to do that at all, so that's probably it for me.
Okay. So you mentioned self-discipline. You mentioned that, you've had to break some routines, break some habits to continue on to get you to this point. Sorry, I talk to people all day at work and it's like words fumble together already today, but to get to this point, what are some things that you still do, with the young family, being married, having the business? What are some things that you still do to have that self-discipline? I know you touched on it, having a good morning routine, but what does that look like for you? And what are some of those things that you might even recommend to other people who might be struggling with the same kind of thing?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it's highly individual, and I would encourage people, if there's anybody that is interested, they can reach out to me. I don't charge for any of my coaching or consulting services. It's totally free. But what I would recommend is finding somebody who's done what you've done before. And the benefit of today is that we have the internet and we have tons of people who are trying to put out a positive message, just like you guys with this podcast. Maybe they don't have the biggest following in the world or whatever, but there's somebody out there that's been through what you've been through, and they probably had to work really hard and fail a bunch of times, and they're going to be able to look at your situation and say like, okay, like here's what I did and I totally messed it up. So don't do it like this, do it like that. You know what I mean? So I would encourage people, don't be afraid to seek a mentor. And also it's just like, there's tons of online accountability groups and stuff like that. And I used to think, I was like, oh, I'm a special forces guy. I'm disciplined. I'm fit, like all this stuff. But to be honest with you, there's nothing quite like social pressure. And it's like not wanting to let down somebody that you look up to, that really helps the adherence, and so if you can find somebody to be accountable with that will help keep you accountable, and then maybe find somebody who's been through the problems that you're going through or struggling with things that you are. That's going to be the easiest way over any obstacles that you have right now. And I think that, with the invention of social media and all the people that are, putting content out now, I think it's easier than ever to find that person, whether it's a mentor or somebody to be accountable to. It's easier than ever to find them and have them help you through whatever it is that you're going through. So I wish I could give a great answer, but I think it's highly individual. But I do think that most people are probably, like, they're not going to want to hear this, but they're most likely lacking in discipline. Just when you look at the statistics, people are scrolling social media for 2 to 4 hours a day on average. Our youngest generations are having screen times of like 13 hours a day. And so it's really hard for me to hear people say things like, I just don't have the time, like,
yes.
It's like, I promise you do. Like,
yes.
Not making the time. And that's the part that usually people don't want to hear is like, I promise you could still sleep 8 hours. Like, you don't have to sleep 6 or 7 hours. Like a lot of people will tell you to. You could still sleep 7 or 8 hours. It's fine. But you gotta have a plan for your day. And it's like, I'm big on planning my day. I know what I'm doing. Like I tell you guys, only take calls from 12 to 3. That's my window of time. And so I leave that time frame open every single day. And so it's like, if you guys would have reached out to me yesterday or 2 days ago and I didn't have space and I had space, I could pop right on. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
If my CPA calls me, he knows to call me in those hours. Like, so it works really well. So having that discipline actually allows me to like kind of be more like laissez-faire, like laid back, because it's like outside of 12 to 3, I'm not taking any calls. And like, I don't feel obligated to take a call. Like,
yeah, that's a boundary that you've established with yourself for yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I have little windows throughout the day. So from like, 4:30, 5 in the morning till 7, I'm working, until my kids wake up. I'm working on my business, stuff I don't want to do usually. It's called non-urgent, important work. It's things that don't have a deadline, but are going to be better in the long run.
Yeah.
Just do it first thing in the day because you don't want to do it. So just do it first thing when you're already up early. You're already doing things you don't want to do. Just knock it out. And then I go into some couple hours of like potential craziness. I don't plan a lot in that time frame. And then I go into my couple hours of planned calls. And then I go into a couple more hours of craziness when my kids get home. One of them goes to school right now. He's going to come home soon and I'm going to want to spend time with him. So then I have a couple hours of craziness and then I go into a couple hours of scheduled time. So really having these like kind of time blocked, it's a term some people use as time blocking, and having these times blocked off throughout the day where I just allow craziness to occur for several hours out of the day at different points throughout the day. And then I have very disciplined times, and my partner, my wife, knows that. And so it makes it very easy. I'm very predictable to her. She knows where I'm at. She knows what I'm going to be doing. And so really being disciplined allows me to, like, in a way, not be like lazier, but so much more carefree. It's because I know what's coming today because I planned it out last night, and I know what's coming tomorrow because I'm going to plan it out tonight.
Yeah, you know what to expect every day. And I think even though that wasn't a direct answer, you answered the question, like, for sure. Because, I mean, that's what works for you. It's going to be different for every single person. That's one of our big messages here is that we can have the smartest people. We can have the biggest, buffest dudes on. We can have the smartest guys. We can have CIA intelligence telling us stuff. And it's going to be different for every single person that we've ever had on, how they do it. And every single message is that too. It's like what works for one of my clients doesn't work for another one of my clients. What works for me doesn't work for you. My workout schedule isn't going to work for you. Your schedule probably wouldn't work for me, but it's what works for you as a person. You have to start somewhere. You have to figure that out. Start with the schedule. That's one of my big things is I carry my phone planner on my phone. I have a paper planner, and then I have another schedule for work stuff. And they're all intertwined, but they all match up at one point or another. So I know what's coming and I know what to predict because you almost have to live your life in a predictable enough way. So then those stress levels, that anxiety is like, I don't know what's coming next. I don't know what's going on. It's not there. So you're able to go into those things with a better headspace, I feel.
Yeah, I totally agree. And like you mentioned, it's highly individual, I mean, but people do need to be able to have almost an outside perspective of themselves and be willing to kind of be their own boss, like, and be their own leader and be able to say, like, what is actually objectively good for me, not like, what do I just want to do, because a lot of times we slide into like laziness. I'm not immune to it. I don't think anyone is.
Mm-mm. No, that's true. So for you, having the young family, having the business, how does having your business, having that ownership affect your family compared to being like a 9 to 5 like worker? Or how does it just affect your like day-to-day life now, having your own business compared to, I don't know if you worked a civilian job beforehand, before all this, so.
Yeah, I did. I didn't join the Army until I was 23. I actually owned a home and had kind of a career going and stuff before I decided to join the military. So I know a little bit about what it's like to work the 9 to 5. Obviously, I'm out of touch. It's been 12 years, since then. But I would say that the difference between being the business owner and the 9 to 5, and I just had a conversation with my father about this recently. He liked being a 9 to 5 employee because you can kind of check out at the end of the day, and there's some stress inevitably, especially if you're in a leadership role, at your place of work. There's some stress that you inevitably carry home, but there's plenty of times where I've been on the phone at 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and there's no way I would have done that if I was the employee. You know what I mean? But since I'm the employer, there's a lot more responsibility. Like, I have people who need their pay coming from me and my business to be, what they expect it to be, because they have families to feed and stuff like that, so there's, I would say I work less, but I'm much more responsible. So my decisions come with a lot more weight than when I was just kind of working the 9 to 5. However, I will say, if, people are like, I don't like the responsibility or whatever, like, it's pretty nice to make decisions like from anywhere you want. You know what I mean? So I would say that's the main difference is I don't have to work anywhere. I don't have to be in any one location. I can do my job because of my employees anywhere I want to be. But I may be working very late at night or very early in the morning. So it's almost like you're on the clock 24 hours a day, like being on call or something like that. So I think that's probably the biggest difference.
Definitely. No, that makes sense. That makes sense because, Aaron and I both been in those leadership roles at work where it carries with you. But, having that flexibility sounds great. Sounds great. Sign me up.
So, like one thing I'd really like to get your take on is, putting in all this time to grind and start your own thing up. What are some tips you can give to men that are in that stage on maintaining your relationship with your significant other, whether it be your wife or just your partner? Like, what are some tips you can give on how to keep it healthy and keep it strong?
Yeah. So one tip in general that I think will just work for the relationship, whether or not you're going to start your business and grind or whatnot, is to just remember that if your partner is expecting you to be doing these different things, and you tell them in advance and you manage their expectations, you're much more likely to be successful. So you're going to run into issues if you're not telling your partner what you're doing, what's going on, and all of a sudden you're not coming home until 7:30, 8, 9 at night. You're stressed out and you're tired, whatever. Like, obviously they're going to be like, what the heck is going on? Like, what is the problem? So I would say just warn them in advance. Just if you make the decision and say, I'm going to start a side hustle that will eventually buy me out of my current career so that I can go to work for myself, which is kind of the path that I took, just understand that there's going to be a period of time, whether it's, 18 to 24 or 36 months, where you're going to have to grind and you're going to have to work hard, and you should make sure your partner is aware of that. So as long as you stay ahead and you stay in communication, you manage those expectations, and you say, like, look, I'm open. If you're seeing me decline in any way, and it's unacceptable, please just let me know before it becomes a problem. But I'm going to be doing this, and I promise you it will be worth it eventually if I can do what I think that I can do and be successful in that. And so I think managing expectations and just being open, honest, and being upfront, and just remember that, while we are partners in a relationship, somebody is usually the leader in each kind of different category of the relationship. My wife, I'm not ashamed to say, is much more the leader when it comes to how we raise our children than I am. But when it comes to like finances, business, and money, things like that, I tend to be the leader. And so what do you expect from your leader, whether you're just at work or on a sports team or anything? You want clear purpose, motivation, and direction. You want clear and concise guidelines. You want to know what to expect. You don't want to just be like, show up here and we'll figure it out every day. Like that usually doesn't go well for very many. So just think about, what would I like to hear? What would I like to do if I knew that my partner was about to be gone a lot more than normal? And so I think it can be easily avoided with just communication.
Got it. Yeah.
So go ahead.
No, go ahead. Good.
Oh, so for that, having that predictable schedule, having that open communication, and you having that time where you could be taking those later phone calls or up earlier, or just those different times where that time might be taken away. What kind of things do you do within your marriage to still make her feel, that she's important, a priority, cared for, cared about, those different things? Like, what kind of things have you found that work for you throughout your course of, this journey of entrepreneurship and owning your own business?
Yeah. So actually, I can't take credit for this. I had a business coach, I believe in early 2020. And he told me, he's like, look, you're working a lot. He's like, set aside 4 hours every week, Thursday night, Wednesday night, Friday night, whatever it is, and get a babysitter or whatever, but give it all to your wife. And it's like, and don't ever schedule anything in that time frame. Make it non-negotiable to you. And so we have a date night every week. Lately, it's been not so much a date night. We lost our sitter who usually helps us out, but I make sure to just give a bunch of time, like a Thursday afternoon, a Friday afternoon, a Sunday afternoon, every week, something, to just go to the park with the family, have lunch, and then, make a date out of it, and make it to where I'm not on my phone. I'm not talking business with anybody. I'm not returning DMs or emails or anything like that. It's pure interaction between the two of us. And I think you might be surprised how far just one day or one afternoon, one evening a week goes in your relationship. And it doesn't seem like a lot, but when it's pure, dedicated just to bonding between the two of you, it goes a really long way. And so that's what we've been doing for a few years now. And it used to be scheduled like it was every Wednesday night or every Thursday night for a while. And that was what we did. But now we're a little more relaxed about it. And it's just like, we're going to pick an evening a few days in advance. We'll work on our schedules together, and we'll just take the kids to the lake, the park, whatever it is. And we'll just hold hands and go for a walk, and there's no phones. It's nothing but interaction between us and the kids. And that has really pushed our relationship to, I think we're in a spectacular place, as good a place as we've ever been. And we're probably busier than we've ever been. But I would say that we're much more fulfilled than we've ever been as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that. It's like, a simple way to keep that spark there. And I think that's exactly what, someone in this position needs to hear. It's because it's something you can easily forget about, trying to grind and really build your brand and establish yourself in your community. That's something you can gloss right over. You're just taking it for granted that you have that support there from your significant other. So it's I love what you're telling us, because it's a keystone in anyone's relationship. You need to keep it fresh. You need to keep building on that.
I feel like it also helps your partner want to continue to give you that support. because they're being supported, their needs are being met. So everyone's needs are being met. And so you're able to, your cup's full. So you're able to pour into that cup for each other. So
No doubt.
That's super important.
So one of my follow-up questions I wanted to ask was, what are some lessons that your business has inspired you to teach your kids? I know they're still young. My kids are still young. Jules are still young. But, what are some things that you can't wait to offload onto them that you learned from being a business owner?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really great question. Honestly, I don't know if I've ever actually considered that. But the one was like recurring theme from my wife and I for our children is that you don't, anything that you want to be your career can be your career. There's literally a woman that I follow on social media who jump ropes on Instagram, millions of followers, and it's her career now. Like, she's a professional jump roper. Like, I would have never guessed before starting my business and learning about social media that if I put in the time and the effort, I could literally build a career out of jumping rope and creating little 30-second to 1 minute clips, choreographed clips. They're very nice. She does a great job. But I would have never guessed that before. And I don't mean to talk negatively about my parents, but I don't think my parents would have ever told me hey man, you can make a career out of anything. You just got to put the work in and put it in every single day and make sure you're getting better every single day and that you're not giving up and you believe in yourself. Because really that's the world we live in now, is you can really do just about anything for a living. And so the fact that I can start a business and, learn along the way. I didn't take any business courses or anything like that. Like, why can't they? They can literally do anything they want. So I think that's probably my biggest message and biggest recurring theme that we try to incorporate into raising our children. It's just look, you don't have to go to college. You don't have to do anything that you don't want to do. But if you want to do what you want to do, you got to do it, and you got to do it well, and you've got to put time in. Nothing comes easy. And the more, I guess, kind of obscure, there's probably not a lot of room for, career jump ropers out there. You know what I mean? So, you got to
Pretty
really
neat.
Yeah, she's probably the best, the person that I know of. There's probably more out there, no doubt, but you got to want it, and you got to want to be the best. You know what I mean? And I don't think that was ever told to me as a kid, growing up. And I just think that's probably our generation. It was pretty much, you got to get a job. You got to do whatever you want, but you got to do whatever you go to school for. Now, I mean, the possibilities are endless. And if you just put in the work daily, I mean, you can literally be in.
Yeah, I love that. And, like you said, we come from a generation where it's, get the grades in high school. And after that point, it's either go to college to, play your sport, or, get your degree, or you go to the military, get out, go to college. The days of that is over. There's some 17, 18-year-olds I see on social media. These guys are thriving right now because they've taken the mentorship that's being offered online and they've ran with it, and so you have 18, 19-year-olds making $1 million a month just doing rental stuff because they sacrificed. They didn't choose to go to college. They grinded. They worked a little 9 to 5, saved up all their money and used it wisely, and I think the days of, that traditional go to school, get a degree, work a corporate job, I think that's over, man. And I think it's a good thing. I do.
Yeah, those days are definitely coming to an end. So, but for you, Brad, I know your kids are young. You said your oldest is 4, right?
Yeah.
So you got a while to think about this, but for your kids, would you rather them go and be a business owner or have a good corporate job, or where would you want to see them kind of take, your example, and what would you want to see them do with it?
I mean, if they could take anything from me personally, it's that you don't have to be born naturally good at something in order to do well enough in it to support yourself and create a nice living. I do think that I probably have possessed some natural instincts that helped me be a good business owner, or maybe some past experiences in my, in my life and working other jobs or whatever probably lended a hand to that. But I'm not particularly athletic. I wasn't born like being able to jump or high or run fast or anything like that. But I was able to, make it to the top 1% of the Army. And it took a lot of physical effort to do that. And I definitely came close to failing on several occasions, but I was persistent and I made sure that I didn't fail. And that if I could pass that on to my kids, it would be like, hey, like, you don't have to go be a Green Beret to be a business owner. I just want you to figure out what fulfills you, what is going to make you happy, and then just aim in that direction and just start walking. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just stay true to yourself along the way. Because as long as you do, and as long as you're honest with yourself, you can't go wrong.
Definitely. No, I love that.
Awesome.
It's more just, go ahead.
No. I was just saying it's awesome.
Oh, no, it's great. It's such a simple message, and it's a message that resonates with our kids. I mean, that's the example you're giving them. You don't have to be anything special. You just have to work hard and put the max effort in that you can to do it, to get there. So for you, being a business owner, what kind of things how's that benefited you as a father to being a better father, or, your military experience? What kind of things have you drawn from all of your life to this point, now that your kids are starting to get, into those taller stages, become a little bit more self-aware, learn and absorb more things and get closer to school, all of these things that you've done and now are doing, how's that shaped you into the father that you are now and hope to continue to become?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I would think that from the, perspective of my military experience, just learning general leadership skills, being able to, if you can lead an adult person, that doesn't mean that you're going to necessarily be a great father. However, it does give you some principles in saying, like, as the employer, as the leader in the military, whatever it was, I owed something to people. I owed them every single day. I owed them to show up and be inspirational. Like, nobody wants that boss who's like, why are you doing it like that? You should be doing it like this. And it's like, you've never done it, so how do you know? You know what I mean? Like,
True.
Everybody wants the boss who used to work where they did and comes in and says, hey, that's really cool what you're doing, but here's how I used to do it, and I think it could benefit you. You're like, wow, that's really helpful. Like, and I appreciate that he valued the fact that I'm doing it different than he did. And you just only get that when you've done something. So as a father, having life experience is very important. And so you need to lead through inspiration, lead through example. And it's like, if you want to sit here and tell your kids every single day that you could be anything that you want to be, why aren't you anything, Dad? Like, why aren't you happy in your life? What are you doing to make yourself happy? What goals and dreams have you set for yourself? Because why are you telling me that I'm living my life with no dreams, no goals, no direction? And you've been doing that for 30 years. So, my biggest thing from all my experiences and stuff is to just, be an inspiration to them. Because I've worked jobs and I've been, the employee, and I've been the employer. And I can tell you that it's a lot easier when the person that you're looking up to is worth looking up to, and you're not looking up to them because that's all you know. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. No, I love that. All right, let's wrap it up here. Aaron, any last questions for our friend Brad here? I got a couple.
Yeah. So I just, this is not necessarily a question, but, picture yourself talking to someone that's in your early stage of development, business-wise. So, maybe the first week into it, he's struggling, has a lot of doubts, speak to him directly, and, what's something you can tell him to encourage him to keep pushing through?
But get used to it, So that first week or so, that feeling of overwhelm, it never goes away. But what will happen is you're going to get better at it. And because, they say my favorite saying when I started my business, and I heard it right around the time that I was starting my business, was, how do you eat an elephant? And it's one bite at a time. And then I also, food related also, was somebody said, don't bite off more than you can chew. And the answer was no. Bite off more than you can chew, and then chew. So, it's along the lines of the saying of a journey of 1,000 miles is one step at a time. And so, you're going to feel overwhelmed regularly throughout your life. I don't care what level of businessman you are. There's going to be times where you have hundreds and thousands of things going on in your head, and you just feel like, I don't know which direction to go. And so what do? Pick a direction and go. And then, make a mistake. Don't be afraid to fail. If that first step is in the wrong direction and you figure it out, course correct and just keep going. Just drive on. I promise you, eventually you're going to start to realize, whoa, I totally made a mistake. I totally failed. I totally let somebody down. And it's well, I don't really feel so bad about it anymore because I've done that 1,000 times. And I just, eventually you realize that that's just kind of part of the job. And so don't ever expect yourself to not be in a difficult place. You will always be in a difficult place. You will be so much stronger in the future that what you consider a difficult place right now, you're going to look back. You're going to look back and you'll be like, man, this would have crippled me a couple years ago. Here I am. I'm still going to put my phone away and go out on a nice date with my wife, and it's not going to bother me at all. So, like anything, if you want to pick up a guitar for the first time, you're going to suck. Your fingers are going to hurt, and you're not going to be any good. But eventually, it'll be great. And so, business is the same thing. It's all about persistence and pushing through that initial phase where you just get beat down.
I love that. That's an amazing place for us to end. Brad, thank you again for coming on. It was a pleasure talking to you. It was a pleasure getting to know you. I learned a lot from this. And we just appreciate, your military service, your insight here, you taking the time to be here with us. And we look forward to getting to know you more, off air and talking to you more. And anything you want to plug, this is your plug spot here. So plug away.
Well, yeah. So you guys can find me. It's the number 6 figure stay-at-home dad on, I mainly do Instagram. I have a book that I wrote called The Mental Qualification Course. You guys can check that out. And if anybody is out there and they need motivation, they need guidance, they need somebody to help them be accountable, reach out to me. I don't even collect email addresses. So it's completely free. And I'm literally just here. If anybody feels like I have something that they need help with, I have the ability to help them, just reach out. It's all free and I'm happy to do it.
Love it. Love it. And then, Brad, just the very final question here. Does pineapple go on pizza?
Hey, that's up to you. I mean, I'll eat it. I mean, it's not something
There you go. That's a win. That's a win right there, brother.
He'll take it. He'll take it.
Party, and that's the only thing. I'm going to eat it. Pizza's pizza.
Fair. Well, Brad, again, thank you so much for being on. We appreciate it. Those things that Brad mentioned, his Instagram, his book, those will be linked in the show notes for you guys. And we appreciate you guys listening, and we'll see you again next week.